on the enrollment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to call to order the October 21st, 2013 meeting of the Regional Governing Board of the Southwest Vermont Regional Technical School District. We do have a quorum present, so we will continue with the meeting, and we'll start right off with public comments. Do we have any public comments? There are none, so we'll proceed. We have a presentation this evening. Is that right?
Unfortunately, we received word this afternoon that the student with Mr. Foley sends their apologies and asked if they could reschedule for another. The student had a family last-minute emergency commitment and was unable to present. Mr. Foley was willing to come himself this evening for the presentation, but I think you might want to see the student that wanted, so we'll reschedule that for next month.
Absolutely. We want to see the student involved. No problem. Committee reports. We had a meeting of both strategic planning and we had a finance committee meeting, so we'll start with strategic planning.
All right. You've gotten the minutes in your Dropbox, but I'll just quickly highlight what we did. We discussed, pardon me, the many ways we can interact and encourage younger students to be, pardon me, to become more interested and involved in technical education programs, including a presence in the middle school to help those students understand what we offer. Go to the North Shore for collaboration and find ways to help interest growing as students move from the 8th grade on into high school. Then we've been really working on the philosophy and goals, and we reviewed the philosophy statements, and then we added some areas that we felt were important. And what we will be doing next time, we will be reviewing and updating the goals at the next meeting, and includes action strategies and time frames. We have a very active committee with lots of wonderful ideas, but we want your input too. So in a nutshell, those are the things that we talked about.
Very active group. Thank you.
I have a
Ricky?
question.
Sure.
Is there a reason why there's no mission statement?
We have one.
Yeah, we have
We
a,
have one, and we're working on revising it, and we pretty well have revised it, but that's what you get when we send these on for your comments.
yeah. You're not aware of
Where's-
the mission statement?
No.
It is on our
I voted
website.
for it, too.
It's on our website and it is in our bylaws. I wanted to see if I could
It's
just quickly put my
also-
hand on it.
But is it explicit on the website under About, where it says mission statement? All I saw was philosophy and then the list.
Yes, so mission, philosophy, and goals. It's on the sheet. I'm not sure where it is.
Let's see where I can get to the site here.
I think it's also in the student handbook.
I think
Well,
it is.
I guess my next question is it not, should it not be apparent on the website?
It definitely should be.
Yeah.
It definitely should be. The mission
Right.
of the Southwest Vermont Career Development Center is committed to pertaining secondary and post-secondary students for career and lifelong learning in a rapidly changing world. Yeah, okay. And again, as Jackie has mentioned, we're looking seriously at that statement and what does it need for updating along with the philosophies and goals that support that statement. That's pretty much our task. But,
So my request would either be explicit on the website.
So
Yeah.
you need to put
Okay.
that here.
Yes,
that's a good request.
that's the mission.
Well, we hadn't looked to see whether it was there. I hadn't
Yeah.
had a chance to pull it.
I know it is there, but is it,
Yeah, I mean, in terms of where she wants it
where,
to be
yeah,
explicit.
that's right.
Jessica, when Gloria sends it out again, she's going to put it on this to be revised.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Good point.
Yeah. Ricky, you want to give us an update of what we covered in finance?
Sure. We had a meeting tonight before this meeting at 5 o'clock. It was a preliminary meeting trying to get us set up for the 2014-2015 budget, determining what we're going to put in for different increases in the line items. We also discussed a few areas that we had to budget some increases on, especially one-time purchases. The other reason that we met was to prepare ourselves to be at a meeting that will be held in this room November 12th at 5 o'clock, and it'll be a joint meeting between the Mount Anthony Union High School Finance, Career Development Finance, Select Boardman, and
Bennington School District.
Bennington School District, thank you. And we want to talk about budget preparations. I guess we're all very concerned about where we're going to be down the road in 5 years, 10 years, and hopefully we can have this meeting and get a little consensus of what some of our costs are going to be as we go down the road. Other than that, don't have much to say about it. Jim, would you like to add to it?
No, we're looking very preliminary figures, you know, we're trying to determine what it is we've got to calculate, insurance costs, insurance raises, and salaries program, how the program information is going to be collected from teachers, et cetera. So, and we've laid out a schedule of meetings from now until our target date, which is actually going to be December of this year for the final vote on the final budget. So I think it's December 16th. At the December 16th meeting, we plan to have a prepared budget that's been approved by the Finance Committee in front of you so that we can go through it line item by line item for approval. Yes, Jack?
I have a question, and that I was wondering, in light of last year and how other budgets one budget went down so many times, can you project like an increase that you're going to have? So for instance, could you say like, okay, we're going to use this budget and only increase it this much, 3%, 5%, whatever, or are you even looking at the percentage or until it's finished?
It's very, very premature to say any percentage figure without actually having the data come forward, you know, that we're looking to collect right now. Plus, we're looking at establishing a zero-based budget policy for next year. We're at least looking at the beginning stages of that. It's very premature for us to say that, yeah, we're looking at a 2% increase. You know, there's just no way we can do that yet. You know, it'll take a couple more meetings before we can come forward and say, well, it looks like it's going to fall within this category.
Well, I just always wondered why, you know, it came after. I would always, you know, look at a budget and say, okay, let's only increase this budget by this much. And so when all the items come in, you can say, well, that's over budget. But that's part of zero-based budgeting.
Right, right. The other thing that is difficult is health insurance, for example. Stephanie gave us, you know, preliminaries as to what they're expecting for an increase in health costs for next year. And it's, you know, somewhere around the 12% range, and that's not unusual to hear that at the beginning of the budget process, double-digit increases for next year. But in reality, they haven't been double-digit over the past 2 years. You know, it's been closer to about, I think, 5 or 8%, somewhere within that range. So it's those type of unforeseens that are always out there at the start of this process. Revenues are the same way. You know, you just don't have a clear picture until it comes down to the wire sometimes. But I think the process, the zero-based budgeting and the attempt that we're doing with, they're implementing for the second year, data input right from the computer, from the teachers, their information should be fairly accurate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Part of the problem is a lot of the times you don't get these figures until after you've already set your budget in March, so after it's voted on, especially with insurance. and special ed. So that creates the problem right there. So you can project all you want. You may be close, you may not be. So it's kind of a guesstimate at this point, so. And don't forget, we do have negotiations this year too.
Haven't forgot
Be an
those.
interesting year.
Yes. Incidentally, Ricky will be our representative for the meeting, and I know that they'll be contacting you very soon. They're planning some preliminary meetings here soon. Get started.
Other than that, I think I'm all set. Katie, do you have anything you want to add to it? I forgot to say that Katie Bourne was a member, and so was Jim, and our superintendent, of course.
I don't think so. I think we hit the nail on the head.
Okay. All right, then we're going to go on. There were no other committee meetings that I was aware of, so. The consent agenda. Let's look first at the minutes of the full board meeting for September 16th. Can I have a motion for those to be accepted?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ricky and seconded by Francis. Discussion on the meeting minutes. None? Then all in favor, would you please signify by raising your hand of accepting the minutes as presented? And that's unanimous, Barb. Minutes of the Educational Facilities Strategic Planning and Strategic Planning meeting. These actually do not have to be approved at the full board level. Isn't that correct?
That's right.
That's right. Those are just there for FYI. For FYI, those are approved at the committee level. The warrants, though. Let's start with payroll warrant 7, 10, 11, 6, and 10, 13. Can I have a motion to accept the payroll warrants?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Gloria and seconded by Francis. Any discussion on the payroll warrants? All right, none, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand again, and that's unanimous. The vendor warrants, 1012 and 1014, can I have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
By Leon,
Second.
by Francis. Discussion, Ed.
I have a couple of quick questions on warrant 1014 on page 18. What is WM Holdings?
It's our web, I think it's our website provider.
Okay.
Hosting provider.
Yes.
I just didn't
The
recognize,
host of our web services.
I didn't recognize who the
Okay.
service was. Second question, this will probably come up when we get to talk about the enrollment numbers, but the Vermont Virtual Learning Cooperative, is that, it's also on the same warrant, is that a one-time payment, or is that
Yes.
every month?
No,
or-
that's the yearly fee.
Okay.
Any other questions on the warrants? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the warrants as presented, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous as well. Any issues or questions on the cash flow statements, revenues, expenses, or the treasurer's reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move on then. We have an action item. We have some nominations that are in the Dropbox or in your packet. And those are the typical ones that we get every year that have to do with the extracurricular activities that are involved here at the center. And
And the repair of our vehicles.
and the repair of our vehicles, that's right. So I need a motion, do we do every one of those individually, or do we? I think we do. I think we do too, yeah. So we'll start off with the repair of the vehicles, Tommy Haskins. That non-form is in the packet, if you want to bring that up. I need a motion to accept that as presented.
So moved.
Second it.
Moved by Francis and it's seconded by Leon. All in favor of that one? That's unanimous. Our FBLA advisor, Neil Hogan.
So moved.
Yeah, Leon,
Second.
seconded by Francis. All in favor of that one as well? Future Business Leaders of America. Is that unanimous on that one? No. Okay. Those opposed? Any abstain? And I guess it was unanimous, Barb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Human Service Club Advisor is Stephanie Peters, and I need a motion on that.
So moved.
Leon?
Second.
Seconded by Francis again. Okay, all in favor? Unanimous on that one. We have Kathy Slade, who is the Skills USA Advisor. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Good, keep it the same, it's easier for Barb that way as well. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And the last one is Lori Wright, the DECA Advisor. That's a big job. And I need the motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? I really want to thank these people for doing the extra work that they do with these clubs and advisory groups. It's a tremendous amount of work. DECA,
Distributive Ed Clubs of America.
Distributive Ed Clubs of America, yeah.
So our marketing school store program.
Yeah. Sometime probably we should have a presentation by them. They go to competitions and they do a lot of extra work. Good programs.
I'll make a note to put them on the future agenda.
Good, good. Okay, I think you're up with the superintendent's report next, right?
Good evening. The first thing I'm going to do this evening is present 3 of our new teachers, and we'll have the rest of them at the next meeting. They weren't able. Now, they've been forewarned that I feel that as a teacher of students that they should be able to present themselves to you. So you're going to get a little bit of a background bio on them. But first, let me introduce to you Brian Coons. He is our new building trades teacher. Brian?
Is this on already? I'm Brian Coon. I'm the new building trades teacher. I'm a graduate of Mount Anthony in 1993. I've been a builder for 22 years. I've owned my own business for the last 10. I'd like to thank Mr. Calkeen, Mike, and Marie-Pierre for the opportunity to do this. I think that you're going to be happy with the outcome. I know that I'm willing to work as hard as it takes to do the job that needs to be done, and I appreciate you guys supporting me, and thank you.
Brian forgot to say go Sox, but that's I just want to note that Brian was hired even though he is a Yankee fan. Next is our new culinary arts instructor, and that is Jamie Lynn Schmidt. Jamie?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie Lynn Schmidt, and as Mr. Culkeen said, I'm the new culinary arts instructor. I currently live in Pownell, Vermont. I have over 18 years of working in the food service industry, and I want to thank each and every one of you for the opportunity to share my passion of culinary arts and to inspire the young minds. Thank you.
I got a question.
Sure.
Have you made it through Hell's Kitchen?
No, not yet, but I'll let you know at the end of the year.
I'll bet you will.
And our last instructor that I want to introduce tonight is our new cosmetology instructor, and that would be Kristen Townsley.
Down a little. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kristen Towsley, and I am the new instructor of cosmetology. I was a Mount Anthony graduate in 1984, and I have been a salon owner for almost 30 years now. So to do this job is really exciting. It's very challenging, but I'm up for it, and I've lived here my whole life, so It's nice to come in and share my experience, and hopefully we'll have a very exciting year. And again, I thank Mr. Colkeen and Mike and Marie-Pierre. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, you did a nice job, welcome. I think we should give them a little applause. It's not that easy. It's a little bit different to stand up in front of the school board on cable television than to stand up in front of your students. I will tell you that you're welcome to stay, but if you feel the need to go home and prepare for tomorrow's lessons, you may do so.
And we certainly thank you for coming and welcome you on board, and we're here to support you, so don't be afraid to ask this man for whatever you need. He'll bring the request to us. Yeah. Good luck with your year.
I want to bring you up to date on some other things that are going on. First, I want to thank Neil Hogan and his program students for agreeing to take over the in-house recycling program here at our school this year. It's not always easy to get people to volunteer to do that. They're going to use it as a fundraiser. I don't know what the value of used paper and cans will be for the amount. Probably not as much for how much work it is, but it also is a good community service for his program students. So I just wanted to take the time to thank them for stepping up and doing that. You saw that our Catamount is out front as you came in today, and the auction was scheduled for Saturday night that could have resulted in the Catamount going away. I had planned to present the chair this evening with a large check from our students' fundraising efforts and our staff fundraising efforts to keep the cat. That's one of the phrases that and the posters that I'm seeing. The auction has been postponed by the Chamber of Commerce. We don't have a date. We're led to believe that it will be in the springtime. So we have more time to fundraise, and I am keeping the amount that we have raised quiet, because we certainly wouldn't want to tip off any potential bidders. With Mr. Chairperson, we will pursue that, and I think it's a great symbol out here in front of our school, something we're proud of, and we want to keep it. And the students have indicated they do too. On Wednesday of this week, 35 of our teachers, of our students and teachers, will be taking part in a Made in Vermont Day at Mac Molding in Arlington. So it starts with a tour in the morning of Mac Molding, then it's going to be a design build competition of something that their engineers are designing. Then the day wraps up with a pizza party, and they make this frozen something drink machine that looks like a frozen repair. You remember what that was called? It's like a smoothie, frozen smoothie, which is supposedly all the rage in convenience stores, particularly in the state of New Jersey, they told us. And it's a machine that they manufacture there in Arlington, and it's really a sophisticated robotic type machine, a $10,000 machine, and that is something that our students will be helping out with. And then it's funny, on that production line,
You can do fundraisers with a machine
yes,
like
there
that.
are. On the production line, there are chest freezers, and that's because they have to test every machine that goes out. So the frozen cup goes into the machine, and it's, if you had a sweet tooth, it might not be the place you want to work, but it's our students and staff, I think, are going to have. Marie-Pierre and I have already toured the facility. I think it's going to be a great day for manufacturing in Vermont and for our students to see a real premier facility and what we hope is the beginning of a great relationship with them. So that'll be Wednesday. We already went over the Budget and Finance Committee. Last Thursday, I was at Vermont Technical College, visited 40 students were there along with staff members for the Women Can Do conference, which was really, the governor spoke there, the Commissioner of Education spoke there, and then there were live demonstrations and participations by young girls to have their eyes open up to all the opportunities that are available to them. And it really was a positive event. despite that I was almost decapitated by a large slingshot shooting T-shirts into the audience. So as a compensation, they did give me a free T-shirt, but that, yeah, it really was something to behold. Now, what's important for us is we sponsored that. We sent 2 buses. Those 40 students who went are not currently students here, and we hope that this will be a great, that based on what they saw up there on Thursday, they're going to want to experience that and come and take classes here with us in the future. I believe it was 10th graders that went. Does that, anybody nodding? Does that sounds right? I think so, right? Yeah. All right. Tim Foley wasn't here, as you know, today, but that is a health awareness video that the students designed, presented. They won a competition. And then they got to go to Burlington and go on a live show to talk about what they did. It's what the project that they worked on. So that's what you'll be hearing next month. Next Thursday and Friday of this week is the joint Vermont School Board Association, Vermont Superintendent Association joint meeting, joint conference at Fairleigh, Vermont. Mr. Bhutan and I will be attending on Thursday. So if there are any concerns that you would like brought, we already have some that people indicated, but please see us tonight if there's something else that you would like us to address. I want to commend the staff on something. The kneecap testing days, the students are taking the test and they're not normally here, so we took advantage of 2 of those testing days to conduct planning meetings with our staff on the theme of marketing and recruiting of students to the CDC, and we've formed some committees. Great staff initiative to work on increasing our visibility. And I think it's tremendous when we get buy-in from everybody. It's just better results. Some of the committees we're planning for the next 8th grade tour day, which we did last year to great success, so we're going to do that again. There's another committee that's working on developing alumni contact and alumni relations with the graduates of CDC programs from the past, because I think that's a tremendous potential pool of talent for future advisory committee members or future employers or job shadowing opportunities or anything like that. And we even have a committee that is, for lack of a better term, new and novel ideas committee that is working to, what are we not thinking, as some Jim said to me earlier when I was describing to him, committee really that is trying to think outside of the box about in marketing and recruiting, what events could we do that we haven't done before or tried to help that. So we're going to continue meeting throughout the fall on that because the dates are coming quickly as far as when all of that has to take place. So you wanted you to be aware of that. I'm going to divert a minute to Stephanie because there are 2 items that I want her to make you aware of. One is our upcoming audit, and the other is a state follow-up visit to the audit that they conducted that takes place tomorrow. So I'm going to go away from my report for a minute and ask Stephanie to address those.
What is occurring tomorrow is the state of Vermont is coming down as a follow-up visit for the monitoring visit that they did in April of last year. I think that we had discussed it in a prior meeting, but they're coming back to look at the process that I'm going to be implementing on November 1st in terms of the program income that's generated, the program revenue that's generated by the programs that we have here. And they'll also be assisting me on making sure that we have a good grants management process in place going forward so that we have good monitoring in the future. The audit is scheduled for December 2nd, the week of December 2nd, and with the idea that they will present to you January 6th. The board meeting with this in January.
questions for Bethany on that? We'll have follow-up reports, particularly on tomorrow's visit, once we know what they're, but I'm encouraged by the fact that they're coming and they're willing to work with Stephanie to help us. You know, we want to be in compliance, and so, I look at their visit tomorrow as more of a help for us to make sure that we are, particularly on the program accounts. Thank you, Stephanie. Two things from the Schiller report that I've been working on that I want to give you some updates on. One recommendation from the Schiller report is that we eliminate our student information system, management system, and use the system that Mount Anthony uses so that we eliminate duplication, particularly in the front office when it comes to inputting attendance and maybe use that person's time repositioned to something else. We've done a lot of investigation, and I want to thank Mike Lawler for doing a lot of this, but I think we're at a standstill that I'm going to ask something from the committee for some guidance, but first let me give you a couple of highlights of what we've found out. I think that recommendation from the Schiller report was a little flawed because I think it went on myths and perceptions as opposed to what really seems to be going on as far as attendance. Our clerk is not actually inputting student attendance. The teachers do it twice. They do it in Redeker and then they do it in Infinite Campus, so it's going directly. She does do verification. She does, when somebody comes late or needs to leave early, she does the modifications because the teachers get locked out at a certain time. So I don't think that we will save time with her. What I do think, Infinite Campus, which is what the high school uses, they're different programs. They both have great features. They're going to be something, if we went to Infinite Campus, there are going to be some staff members that won't be able to do what they're currently doing in the parent portal, classroom integration technology, as far as communicating with parents. It's not going to be the same way that they're doing. What we won't be saving parents, though, even if we went to Infinite Visions, that's our Infinite Campus. Infinite Visions is our financial software. Parents would still have to log in twice, even because to get access to see what our teachers are posting, they would have to log in with the password that we gave them, and they would have to log in with a password that Mount Anthony gave them, even if we had the same company doing the software. So there's not going to be any savings that way. Cost-wise, they're both looking almost equal dollar amount. And I could go on with more details, but what I'm going to ask the committee today is I'd like to form an ad hoc committee for this topic alone so that we'd have a sunset that it goes away once we've made a decision. I think from an administrative point of view, I've looked at it enough that I am now totally confused. And I think, Mike is, looked at it and now would like to talk to the people who are using it. So I respectfully request that if you could appoint 2 board members to serve on this ad hoc committee, we would ask the teachers to appoint 2 members and then 2 administrators and really get into what would be the impact if we just said we're no longer going to support Redeker and switch to Infinite Campus and come back and make a recommendation to the user. So if you have any interest.
Okay, just quickly to bring you up to speed, student data management is it's all the demographics associated with the students. It's the parent information, the address, the towns where they come from. It's their grades, it's their NECAP scores, their MAP scores, etc. And then, of course, included is their schedule for where they are during the day, and then their attendance, and their warnings, and am I missing anything? Oh, there's a parent portal. A parent portal is a section where teachers basically can set up their grade book in there, and parents can look at it. And they can look at assignments if the parents log in. And so we're talking about two different systems. The Redeker system, which is what we use, and then the entire SVSU uses the Infinite Campus system, okay? So that's just kind of in a nutshell what we're talking about. I think Jim's right. I think that's a great idea. We set up an ad hoc. We get a couple people from the board here that would take a serious look at both sides, and along with some faculty members, and then come back to us and make a recommendation of what we should do. Ed?
I'll volunteer for that.
Me too.
One of the reasons why the CDC did not move to Infinite Campus several years ago was the issue that we have students here from Arlington and Manchester, which are not part of the SVSU district, and using that piece of software would allow, at the time, the thinking was it could allow somebody at the SVSU central office to conceivably get into that data, which they're not legally allowed to access. And I don't know if that issue remains or not.
Do we put that student information in our current system?
I'm not sure what we're doing now.
See, and those are the things that the ad hoc committee can really take and delve into, sending school issues, et cetera, and then come back to us on that. Yeah. So good, great.
Yeah.
You two, you can run with it then, and work
So
with
we're
Jim.
going to notify you when there's going to be, I'll take your two names. We're going to ask the staff at their meeting on Wednesday to give us two, and hopefully it's two. Not every staff member uses the software to its fullest potential, so some are really familiar with it, really use it, particularly the parent portal part of it. If I'd like somebody, real knowledgeable user, intimately familiar with how that system operates, because it really is going to come down to pros and cons. Now, one thing that we have learned, neither system is perfect, and the representative from Infinite Campus was pretty clear when he told us, what they aren't, and as opposed to what they can do for us. And there are definitely some superior issues, aspects to it. And I think the more people who use it that we have involved, and I probably should actually put somebody from the front office on that committee too, who uses it from that angle too, and because it's going to have, if we make a change, and it's going to have an impact on everybody. Some will be a minor impact, like in a positive way, like I'm only doing attendance once now because I'm entering it into one system. But the one thing that we are learning, that we can do a much better job of importing data and not replicating it in our own database, that's one positive that has come from digging into this, particularly on some of our reports that we have to generate. That'll make it easier for those people that have to do that. And
We do have to report to the state every once in a
right,
while.
right.
It's interesting, some states mandate the student data management systems that you have to use. They'll buy a contract with either Redeker or Infinite Campus or whatever, and they push it out so that everything is standardized
Right.
throughout the entire state. The state of Vermont was looking into that a couple of years back, but I don't think they could come up with the funding to support it. But it does make sense to have all your data at one location, one area. So.
And it is all password protected. I mean, how safe is it? There's always potential for someone to hack into something, I guess, but we can't read their system unless they give us access, and vice versa. They can't read into ours. So, but we already do communicate with them. With I'm talking about Mount Anthony, obviously. We communicate with them. We do share data with them, and it's limited on who can do that too. Like our guidance director has access to it, and not everybody else. So, Mike has access to it. I don't have access to it because I really, in my role, I don't have a need to do it, so I don't have a password to get into it or anything.
Will it have like a medical thing, particularly medical alerts?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have
It does,
that.
yeah.
That's one of the components.
Hmm.
The health component is called, and the nurses usually manage those.
And how is that for like sharing information with the counselors at the high school and the counselors here? I mean, will they have access, or will they have a limited access or permissions level?
There's a permissions level on that. So the next step on this, once we get who wants to be on this ad hoc committee, is what Mike has scheduled with Infinite Campus, is a webinar that we would all partake in to hear, you know, them describe their products, and then I guess we would go the same way with Redeker, and then talk to users, survey users, whatever the committee wants to set up for the protocols for how we're going to come to a decision. So we can put that one. The other is, the other Schiller recommendation that I'm working on is the alignment of front office personnel, changing of job descriptions, and I feel that certainly by the end of this calendar year, I will be making a presentation to the board on, I will be presenting you with new job descriptions. That's my goal, and some of what we're talking about ties into, the two of these tie in particularly on whether there is more efficient ways that we can collect data than going to complete input of our own data, which seems to be one of the more time-consuming things that we're doing, which just, you know, to me, I equate that to putting a form in a typewriter and typing all the way from scratch, as opposed to importing information that's already in a database somewhere else. You know, when I mean by that, I'm talking about student names, addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, which has already been inputted, and we can import it into ours, as opposed to getting, and I'm assured that that can happen. It just isn't happening as frequently as we'd like, and that is, I think, is what taking more personnel time to complete than the inefficiencies of two systems. For my, so those two go hand in hand, but I want you aware that we are continuing to move forward on it. The last thing that I have for you tonight, it's in the Dropbox, but it didn't go into the Dropbox till this afternoon, so I have hard copies if you would like preliminary class size numbers. So I have hard copies of that. I sent the whole thing one way, I'll get it back to you. It's also in your Dropbox. Let me talk about these numbers because I don't have a full-blown presentation on this, because I received these numbers from our data entry person and Bill Swisher on Friday, reviewed them. Then, you know, there's always some open to interpretation of where students get placed. So I got the full numbers, literally, what time did they go in the Dropbox? Maybe 2:30 this afternoon. So the real presentation and discussion, this should be a full-blown agenda item. It should be placed on the agenda for discussion in November. But I believe in giving you these numbers as soon as I have them. And the one that is probably the most interest of you is 2014. That's the first column closest to the program. The first page is your full programs. The second page is your pre-tech foundation. You'll see the title of the course and how many students are physically in there that we're reporting. This is what we're reporting to the state as of October 15th are in that program. The snapshot is October 15th. We have not actually reported this to the state yet. We have to report it by November 15th. What happens now is there's another part of this that you're not seeing that actually has student names and where they live, and that gets sent to their sending superintendents for verification that this student actually lives in Shaftesbury and they should be billed for that person, or, no, they live in Arlington and they should be billed. So that is what's happening in the next month, and we have to hit the send button for this to the state November 15th. Class size numbers should not shift much between now and the 15th. What will shift more is town of residence might shift. And just for those of you who are new and don't remember, we do this twice a year. We will do this again in March. And then our funding is based on how many full-time equivalents we generate at the center on a 6-semester average. So you can see, last year at this time, we had 194 full-time equivalents. We have 190 full-time equivalents this time. Yet our total student enrollment is up. It's 496 students are taking some type of a class with us, where last year at this time, it was 469. Simple explanation, but you would think if we have more students, our full-time equivalent would be up. We have more students enrolled in pre-tech foundations than in programs, because we feel we received tremendous response from our 8th grade tour day last year. Our pre-tech foundation numbers are up. Roughly calculating, it takes 4 students, 240 minutes is a full-time equivalent. It takes 4 students in a pre-tech foundation to equal a full-time equivalent, and it takes 2 in a program to equal it. So we have less students in programs, more students in pre-tech foundations. So that's why the full-time equivalent is down by 4, and the student count is actually up by like 30. I'll give you some time to look at it. I'll answer whatever question you have, but like I said, I will give a full presentation on this at the November meeting, when I think everyone's had time to look at it, and including myself. Like I said, this was literally printed at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
As you did before, maybe you could put down the number of girls and boys, if that's not too much trouble.
Yeah, we should be, yeah, we don't report it that way to the state on this form, so this is just that snapshot, but we should be able to get that, because I know you asked that last year, and we did.
You did that.
Yeah.
What other day do you desegregate?
I don't really know that off the top of my head, what else that, like.
Well, I meant minorities.
Minority, yeah. I'm assuming at some point, I think that's the March report that will ask that, and income and all of that stuff. That's more on the March report. Yeah. Cool.
The online courses, no, you're right, so are we paid for
No,
that?
the state will not pay us for those students. There's a movement to do it. It was a discussion at a meeting that Mike and I were at last Thursday. All the tech centers are asking the same thing. So right now, you're right, it costs. We pay a fee to participate in it on the online learning.
$500.
That's that fee you asked about earlier. That's the fee to participate in. We get.
That also covers our students taking.
Covers our students taking classes also, yeah.
25
Yeah.
seats, right?
25 seats above, yeah. And I don't know how many are actually.
Don't know how many you
No,
have.
no.
What classes are covered with the technology classes?
There's a whole pamphlet of classes that are offered, but
Yeah.
I don't know of the enrollment here or at the high school, but they have quite a selection.
But, I see it, well, I'm gonna guess on what Ed's point is. If we're not making any money off it, why are we doing this?
Well, I'm not sure I'd come to that
Yeah.
conclusion, but it's a fair question to.
It is a
to
fair
ask.
question. It's one of those things that we want to be part of the online learning community. We hear over and over that this is the future of at least part of education. So I'm looking at this juncture as more of an experiment in the learning curve, or cutting your teeth, or whatever phrase you want to use, on how this all works. And, you know, it costs us $4,000, and it is costing us a portion of a teacher's salary for that time that he is teaching that class. So, you know, there's that cost too. I still think at this point that it's worth it. I wouldn't want to not be part of it and say that we're not part of online learning, but at some point, the state, you know, needs to address it, because why would we continue to do it if it was, especially if it expanded more to the point that it's a full-time teacher doing it and we're not receiving any revenue for it? That would be a concern.
And I could give you one big reason. It works particularly well with ADHD children. Children who are, have certain types of disabilities, need certain types of organizational skills. It works wonderfully with them. And so that's one reason.
It is.
I have to agree with Jim. We're in the infancy stages of this, and we really need to give it some time, because all the other schools are jumping on board, and they're probably going through the same issues. We're going up to the, as he mentioned earlier, to the conference here on Thursday, where the superintendents and school board people come together. I think it's definitely something we need to bring, you know, to the table and get the discussion going, because we need to address this down the road, and how we're going to be compensated for offerings like this.
We've been talking about it.
Yes, we have, for a few years now.
What I am drafting along with our guidance coordinator, what I've told him I want for my November report on this, because what you don't see here, you might see a course that looks like it has low numbers. You can't really tell from this report, because some courses are taught concurrently. So the next report, that isn't the way that we send it into the state, but how I want to present it to you, will be a period by period, basically a schedule that will show you, and you'll say this, I will say, here's how many students are in front of this teacher during this time block. And that teacher might be teaching 3 different variants of their program at the same time. So that will show more to you, I think, than what this report, these raw numbers by category, because I could look at it and I don't want to tell you and have you remember, I don't want to say, well, you see this class here and this class here, those are running at the same time. I'd rather show it to you, because we're not going to remember. There's too many for me to go on this, but this is the report I had today, and I wanted you to have it in front of you. You can spend some time looking at it. Feel free to email me if you have a specific question about it, or call me, whatever you prefer. Be glad to help you.
Well, I was happy to see the numbers in the pre-foundations, because it meant that through your efforts last year to contact 8th graders.
And we may see more in the following year of those 496.
Yeah, that's what we hope. Yeah. Plant the seed and hope they grow. And that concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Good. Thank you. I have just 3 items. The Vermont School Board Association meeting, I've already mentioned it a couple times now. It's been mentioned. Feel free, if you've got issues you want us to address, we'll bring those to the table. I want to talk a little more about the meeting that Ricky mentioned, the Bennington Select Board, the Bennington School District, the Mount Anthony District, the co-meetings we've been having on a monthly basis. And they really did begin and developed around the community development plan that the town of Bennington is trying to implement. And in that plan, again, was better communications with the school districts. And I think this is a stepping stone on the 12th of November, where we're going to get all our finance committees together, and we're going to put on the table what are the issues that are happening in the town of Bennington the big issues, and so that the public becomes a little more aware. And the town's going to put their issues on the tables as well, and we're going to lay out our schedules. And it's another way of communicating out to the public that they're welcome to give us input on the issues and the topics that are coming to the table associated with budgeting. And that's just the budget portion. We have scheduled for our next meeting, we're going to take a look at how the community, the business community and the nonprofits, et cetera, can help input information to us, to the schools. What are the needs that they have, and how can we establish a line of communication so that we're constantly aware of their needs and we're able to adjust maybe our curriculums or our program offerings around those needs. So it's all part of their economic development plan. I think it's going well. I think it's going very well, and I'm encouraged with what's happening there. So we do meet on a regular basis, and it's open to the public. We hold our meetings over at the Veterans Home Conference Room. I'll send you out an email when the next meeting is if anyone is interested in attending that. The other item, the third item I had, goes back to keep the cat. I have to tell you, the students are doing a tremendous job here. They want to keep their cat. It really does look nice out there. And this was a first for the school to sponsor a cat like this. And they're pretty proud of it. And they're doing a heck of a job, a bang-up job, and they're working hard at it. So I'm going to challenge you people this evening, and it's not just going to be the school board members. I'm going to challenge the administration as well. I'm going to ask you to give me a bid, all right, a donation to what you would like to donate to the cause, to the bid of that cat. So I'll send you out an email. Please respond with a promise to put some money in the till so that the students can win that cat. And I'm going to ask the public out there the same. If you're interested in donating some money to help us keep our cat, call the CDC at 447-0220. Hit 0 when you get that voicemail, and Sandy will pick up the phone and take your pledge for us and help us get that cat. We'd really like to see that.
Stephanie, I think you need to set up a separate line item for that. Okay?
Yes. Right.
What do you think that's going to amount to?
Well, we don't want to say.
We don't
really, want it. It's a public auction at some point, so I do think. Did you say there was a minimum bid?
There was a minimum bid, I think, of $2,000. That was the starting bid of
okay.
$2,000. That was originally planned. Yeah. And the moose, I can tell you, last year went as high as, some of them went as high as $10,000, $15,000. So you can never tell. But we've got more time. We've got now until the spring to continue to raise money and go in there. And
multiple programs here, and their students working to do different fundraisers to buy the cat. So it would be nice if you want to help them out.
Then we'll have to have a ceremony when we get it.
That's right. That's right.
So it is kind of an odd little thing, because we certainly wouldn't want to publicly announce how much money we fundraise right now.
No, you don't want to do that.
And then have,
right.
where we would be setting a new floor for the bid.
But we would like to somehow let other bidders know that they're bidding against students,
Oh, pulling on the heartstrings there.
We'll do whatever we can. That's all I have for the chair's report. The next item on the agenda is executive session. Do we have any?
We do not have one this evening.
We do not have anything scheduled this evening. Then is there any
Motion to adjourn.
any other business that anybody else has first? No? Then we have a motion to adjourn by Francis. Do we have a second? Second. Seconded by Ed. All in favor? Aye. Thank you for coming this evening. Appreciate it.
No, it doesn't. There's not even a Red Sox game to get home to.
Boy, it's going to be a great series.